Donald Trump, the US president, wants Greenland, the biggest island of the world, which is a territory of a European nation called Denmark. Though geographically Greenland is in North America, but it is controlled by Denmark, and Donald Trump wants it at any cost and whatever it takes, as he said in one of his Truth Social posts. In fact, just a day before, we have seen Denmark summoning the ambassador of the United States of America to Copenhagen and issue a démarche in which Denmark has taken a strong exception to an American intelligence operation trying to incite separatism and sentiments which could be detrimental to Denmark's integrity, territorial integrity, and make some of the Greenlanders think in terms of secession. And we are going to discuss that and the implications and how it goes forward. With us is Mr. Vance Wendel-Hansen. He's a researcher and an academic associated with the School of Culture and Society Center for Grundtvig Studies at Copenhagen. He's part of the Aarhus University. He's joining us from there. Very welcome, Mr. Hansen. And your first comments on this latest development, the diplomatic tiff between Denmark and the United States on the issue of Greenland.
Yes, the Danish view in this regard is that you cannot defy territorial integrity in this kind of way. That there are certain certain international rules which of course defies this, and the Danish point of view is that the future of Greenland is decided by the Greenlanders, and they have the possibility of claiming independence, but they haven't yet. And until then they are the responsibility. Greenland is the responsibility of the Kingdom of Denmark. So therefore this is highly irregular, and the idea that some kind of American institution should infiltrate the Greenlandic society is, of course, a problem since the United States is a close ally in NATO. So that is considered a great problem from the Danish administration as well as from the Greenlandic administration.
Yes, we'll discuss the latest development in a bit about the American interest, the intelligence operation infiltrating the Greenland society. But I want to understand from you, Mr. Hansen, what's the history like? Why is Trump so interested in Greenland? Is there any history of the United States having possessed Greenland ever? What's in Greenland which is making Donald Trump so interested in possessing the territory?
Yes, actually, it derives from the Monroe Doctrine, that the Americans consider North America their sphere of interest, and that also counts Greenland. The Americans have tried to buy Greenland two times before, in the 1860s and the 1940s, but they have also since 1917 accepted Danish sovereignty and recognized Danish sovereignty over Greenland. If from 1941, the Americans have been military present in Greenland. For instance, in the Thule Air Base, and therefore it has been part of the American defense, and that is accepted from the Danish government. But but still sovereignty is considered. It is broadly recognized that Denmark has sovereignty over over Greenland.
All right.
So that is the issue in this case.
So you're saying that in 1860s an attempt was made, then in 1940s an attempt was made to outright buy Greenback, and that's the history. Greenland, I beg your pardon, and that's the history. And since then, Danish sovereignty over Greenland has been accepted till, of course, the coming of Trump, because in the first term also he offered to buy out Greenland. Denmark refused, and even and then Trump threw a tantrum and cancelled his visit to Copenhagen. With all this history and the manner in which Trump is going after Denmark and Greenland in the second term, we have seen him making statements after statements. We have seen him sending in his son, Donald Trump Jr. We have seen U.S. Vice President Vance visiting Greenland.
Yes.
Essentially a concerted attempt to really get Greenland. Now in this backdrop, this intelligence operation surfacing, first by way of a WSJ report in the month of May, and then now, which means it's clear that Americans under Trump are going to really go after Greenland and go after Denmark. So then what's the Danish response going to be beyond this démarche and the statement from the leadership? We know, for example, Prime Minister Frederiksen and Defense Minister and your Foreign Minister, they have criticized and called it unacceptable. But is it enough by way of response?
Yeah, in a very, very changing world, the possibilities still are to appeal to, for instance, our international allies, for instance, in the European Union, where there are a great agreement to be on the Danish side, and also you have to address in some kind of way our allies in NATO in this regard, because both the US and Denmark is a part of NATO.
Yeah, and, absolutely. And in fact, President Trump has even said that if need be, Greenland can be taken militarily, in which case what happens? NATO breaks, because both United States and Denmark are part of NATO.
That is really an interesting question, because then what would happen in a defense alliance where the one part is attacking the other? So this is also a very groundbreaking time for the NATO alliance, and I don't think that it would end with military intervention. Trump has also gotten back on that. He has softened his views on that point. But anyway, you are in a situation where it is, of course, hard to be to act as a government in a smaller country when you are attacked, not even by a foe or a country that you haven't diplomatic relations with, but with an ally. And that is of course frustrating from a Danish point of view. I think it has also made it clearer for the Danish nation and the Danish government that you have to address that Europe has to stand firm in some kind of way towards not only aggression from Russia, which is a question now with the Russian-Ukrainian war, but also what if some other kind of infiltration happens?
Yeah.
And that is what we see with the US.
Yeah. So let's come to the latest episode now, Mr. Hansen, which is that the public broadcaster DR of Denmark, it came out with a report which said that the Danish intelligence agencies have uncovered a network of American spies, or actually American citizens, 3 of them, who were involved in activities trying to create a wedge between the Greenlanders and Denmark. They were trying to work on the sentiment of, for example, the 1980s, 90s episode of the population control measures that were put in place in Denmark. That's part of history. So it seems that this is a clear, concerted attempt at influencing. This was being called an influence operation. You think America can succeed because it's just about 50, 60,000 people in the entire Greenland?
Yes, I think that there is a quite clear sentiment in Greenland that in terms of political values, for instance, the composition of the welfare state and so on, you are closely connected to Denmark than you are with the US. I think that is very commonly agreed on in Greenland, but on the other side, you have this very firm wish of getting independent. It is the economic element that is the problem in claiming independence, because half of the income to the Greenlandic treasury comes from Denmark at present. So therefore. So therefore, there are an interest in getting independent, both economically and politically, in Greenland, and this is probably what the U.S. have seen, that they can appeal to this in getting their hold on Greenland or infiltrate Greenland, and that is correct. There are, as you mentioned yourself, a lot of colonial episodes which has developed into traumas in Greenland and executions from the Danish government. Yeah. So there is this this way that the Americans can provide some kind of antagonism between Greenland and Denmark, but I think that the Greenlanders before these incidents, the Greenlanders also considered actually to make some kind of free association agreement, for instance, with the U.S. Yeah, but I think that this incident has also been a great what do you call it? It has surprised the Greenlandic opinion to the public opinion in a way that it has created a great fear of what is going to happen if the Americans, in some kind of way, make an entry in Greenland or increase the presence. Yes.
In fact, Mr. Hansen, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance visited Greenland a couple of months back, and there he made some provocative statements. He said, for example, that Denmark has failed to take care of the Greenlanders. In fact, he exactly attacked the welfare state you are talking about. So in that sense, the Americans are very clear that they have to somehow get Greenland and create an antagonism, as you say, between Greenlanders, just about 50, 60,000 people, and the rest of Denmark. You think the Danish government is sensitive to this and that it's taking proactive measures that this does not happen?
Yes, as late as yesterday, the Danish Prime Minister excused for the colonial incident you mentioned about population control and so on. So I also think that the Danish government has to try to remove all the obstacles within the relationship between Greenland and Denmark, And I think that is most becoming for the Greenlandic government too, because they probably don't want to end up in a situation where the Americans take advantage of the situation. So I think that the Danish government has seen this rather complex game that the Americans are playing. But also, I think that there are, in general, in the Danish public opinion, a great compassion for Greenlanders. That is one thing, but also a great lack of knowledge of the Greenlandic issue and the Greenlandic society. So
are you sure the Greenlandic society is with you on this?
It was made very clear from the Greenlandic politicians that that Greenland were not to exchange Denmark with the US. That is quite clear, and also in the view of the last general election in Greenland, you have to very much take it into account that the only party with which has formally expressed itself in a peripheral way in regard to this free association agreement is outside the Greenlandic government. So I think that there has been a very clear Greenlandic answer against the US.
Right.
Whether that means that you can make some kind of cooperation with the US, of course you can do that. And it doesn't mean that the Greenlanders doesn't want independence. It's a very, very strong wish in Greenland. The typical opinion poll says something like 70 or 80% of the Greenlandic population wants to be independent. So there is this quite strong claim, but as the Greenlandic Prime Minister has also said, that is in order to be a Greenlandic country, not an American.
Yes, but my last question to you, because you mentioned, I have to ask, if 70 to 80% people in Greenland and the Greenlanders want independence from Denmark, then in that case, in future, there is likelihood of an independent Greenland, if it happens, being influenced more by an aggressive United States vis-a-vis a smaller Denmark.
Yes, definitely. There are the possibilities that this develops into Greenlandic independence on some kind of some kind of terms, and it has been more and more emphasized from the Greenlandic politicians that this claiming of independence, or anyway a referendum on the independence, should be moved forward. And that has been a general claim for a couple of years now. That is not to be connected with the Americans. But of course, the Americans have seen this, and they can actually use that in some kind of way. So that is, of course, an issue. And I think that the hard element in this for the Danish government is to let the Greenlanders speak on the one hand, but also to take its responsibilities in international regard on the other hand. Right. And therefore, the Danish government stands in a position where it don't want to be accused for being imperialistic, but also it doesn't want to leave the Greenlanders alone in this fight against the US.
Right, absolutely. In fact, while Europe is already struggling with its eastern flank with the Russia-Ukraine war, it is hoped that there is no Western front opening with this aggressive push coming in from Donald Trump personally and the US government generally to take over Greenland, which is a territory of Denmark, in which case it would be an interesting situation to watch out how NATO dynamics play out. On that note, thank you so much, Mr. Hansen, for joining us on this brief but nice conversation on the geopolitics of Europe as it pans out, with Donald Trump really pushing in his weight to take over Greenland. Thank you so much for joining us.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.